Hello, Paul Hogden from SEO Underground, and I am here with the double C. That's right, it's Craig Campbell. He is Mr. Black Hat SEO, and I am so thrilled that he is also going to be a speaker at SEO Underground. So I thought I'd take some time out and we'd have a little bit of an interview with Craig. First of all, the first thing is we need to talk about his dentistry, because obviously he needs to change that dentist, because I think he's got some problems going on, but it's a lovely smile.
Already.
Excellent. But for those people who don't know who, and I don't know where they've been, perhaps they've been under a rock for a little while, I think it would be great if you could just tell everybody who you are, what you do, what your background is, and that would be a great start to the interview.
So my name's Craig Campbell, based in Glasgow, up in Scotland, and I've been in this industry for around about 18 or 19 years. So it started out like most of everyone else in this industry, messing around, didn't know what I was doing. I was actually calling myself a web designer at the start. Wasn't very good at it, by the way. But yeah, probably done freelance stuff for about 3 or 4 years, working from home. Just finding my feet, just learning from people and all that kind of stuff. Then I went on, I didn't go on, but when you take on more work, you hire a sales guy, you have, a content writer and so on. So before I knew it, I had an office, 17 staff, and what was called an agency. So that went on for 9 years. Like the blink of an eye, by the way, quickest 9 years of my life. So done that for 9 years, and I think, working with a lot of small businesses and small to medium-sized businesses, just cutting my teeth and just really developing, the service and stuff, and whilst trying to learn how to manage people and all of that kind of stuff, and try and make some kind of processes and scale up a business. So I've done that for about 9 years, but I decided that at a point that wasn't for me personally. I didn't really want to manage that many people. I felt as if my skills weren't being utilised enough. I was more of a, I built myself into the business rather than working on the business. And as someone who's passionate about SEO, who likes playing with stuff, testing different methods, different tools, different everything, I ended up becoming a person I didn't want to be. I decided to change that around, and for the last 4 or 5 years, I wanted to work on getting more into affiliate marketing, buying and selling websites, training, consultancy, and all of that stuff, because I felt after the 13 or 14 years of doing the work for clients, I was at a point where I felt I could help other people. So I thoroughly enjoy doing that now, and that's what I'm still doing to this day. Obviously doing it a lot through YouTube and everything just now. But yeah, really enjoyed the affiliates marketing side of things and just being able to do my own thing rather than fight with people over budgets or content or whatever, what it's like dealing with clients. So there's always a problem, and normally at that point, the problem is lack of budget, and unrealistic expectation. Yeah. So I just didn't find that enjoyable. So as I say, built up my own personal brand, done a lot more speaking, put myself out there. And that's what I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years. So
what sort of what sort of lured you towards the dark side, should we say? What's sort of been your motivation to learn everything that you have about Black Hat SEO?
So one, I do enjoy being a DV's person anyway, but obviously back in the day when I was learning SEO, it was forum based. There was no YouTube, no Facebook groups, no online courses, nothing. It was all on forums, and I wasted about 2 years doing stuff that would be deemed white hat and doing everything that people were telling me to do on the forums. And then, I started to talk to this guy through a private message who was like the father figure of the forum, the guy that was in SEO the longest. And that chap's actually dead now. But he was like a monster. He knew how to do everything. And if you went into that forum and gave a bit of a shitty answer, he would slam you on there. And, he was just wild. The guy was wild. But, what he was doing effectively back then was building networks of websites, which literally got you ranking within a week. So this guy could rank you for anything you wanted within a week. And as I say, you would go to him, he would sort you out with the links, and you would do your kind of on page, and that was all you needed to rank back then. And clients were like, "Whoa, you're ranking me for this nationwide, blah 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 blah." And obviously, SEO was a lot easier back then. But when you do that, and there's a guy doing something, you then start to ask questions as to what he's doing. And this was way before PBNs and all that were a thing. But he had the network of sites or whatever, and could do the job properly for you within a week. Honest to God, it was frightening. And people were coming back to me going, Jesus, this is insanity what you can do and all that. And I'm sitting there going, yeah. But then in the inside going, I have no clue. I'm paying some dudes that I've never even seen a photograph of, because back then it was a picture of a gorilla. This guy, it was on a forum called the SEO chat forum.
Right.
His avatar was a picture of a gorilla. His name was Fathom, and as I say, that guy's dead now. But it's that was what it was. There was no real names given out. You were basically paying a dude with a fake picture, a ton of money, and hoping that this guy actually knew what he was doing, and this guy did. So that's when you start to think, right, what is he doing? Why is he doing it? How's it working for him? How can I get involved in this? And you start to look at strategies that do move the needle, because it was against everything that everyone was teaching you on the forum. And at that point, you need to make a conscious decision. Do you listen to this white hat thing, or do you do what works and actually moves the needle? And a lot of people are obviously scared of getting caught by Google or whatever. But, as I say, I don't really see... I don't like the word black hat and white hat and all that kind of stuff, because we all have to do what works. SEO is manipulation by anyone, even adding, title tag and whatever. You're trying to manipulate the search engine. So let's not kid ourselves. Google know what you're doing. Google is not that daft. So for you to sit there and pretend you're ultra white hat whilst being potless and making no money and having no rankings isn't ideal. And the poorest point in my life where I've had the least amount of money is when I was going down this whole white hat SEO route, and getting sacked by every client and all that stuff because things weren't moving. And maybe I just wasn't good at SEO. But what I would say is I was following these white hat practices, and people are not going to hang around forever waiting on this evergreen content, and getting
to rank,
about and all that stuff. So you've got to play the game.
Yeah. How many 6,000 word posts did you have to create to get them into the top 100? Probably ranking at 98 or something like that for a popular keyword.
Exactly. So you've got to just try and test different theories out there, and I think that still stands true to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. Thinking back, to when PBNs and stuff like that were ultra efficient and actually, really moved the needle on their own without any encouragement, without any, many other sort of tiers or anything like that. That was certainly a heyday, I think, of Black Hat SEO, and certainly made life a lot easier. Nowadays, I think because everyone's got wise to it and understands it a lot more, there's so many more layers to getting people to rank for competitive terms, isn't there? And I guess that's kind of been part of your journey, is to kind of learn what else you need to do. Is that right? So I think what you said there, layers, is the perfect way to call it that. Before it was just content and links. Now there's more layers to that. Even in the content side, there's layers. Keyword research, there's tons of layers. Content optimization, there's so many different angles, so many analysis tools, Surfer, POP, and all that stuff. So it's not just throwing up, a 500 word article with a couple of keywords in there and hoping for the best, which pretty much it was back in the day. There's just constant layers. Things have evolved, and Google are maybe weighting some of those underlying layers more than they
give to the top layer or whatever. So, I think that's what happens with anything in life. Things progress, things change, things evolve, and you've got to evolve with it. And I think that's where a lot of SEOs then, give up or gave up. And others just stick to the tactics. They're too stubborn. You've got to have an open mind and got to embrace change and evolve with technology and algorithms and everything else. And that's where I think the most important thing is, one, sticking to the core basics of doing proper SEO and not focusing too much on the speed or something like that. And two, trying and testing things. Don't, how many people have I seen? Well, I do a lot of videos and stuff, and a lot of people will say, that's bullshit, or that can't work, or this, that, or the next thing. Go try it and then come back at me, because I can show you right now that it does work. Whether you choose to believe me or not, it's a different story, but do your own testing, come to your own conclusions. I'm not here to help anyone other than me and my family make money, and you can take what I say with a pinch of salt, or try it out. And anyone who does try out some of the stuff that I do end up with a reasonable degree of success. So you've got to test things, and by all means, I make mistakes. I say things that may not work as effectively as others may think, and all that kind of stuff. But I've got my own secret formula that works for me. And as I say, there's more than one way to do SEO as well. People have got their own secret, recipe, if you like. As I say, even if I'm doing local SEO, I might do 5 things like citations, send traffic, do a bit of CTR, do a bit of this, do a bit of that. Now, 2 of those things might not actually move the needle, but I don't care. When I throw all of that at it, that's what right. So again, you need to try and dig deeper and find out what moves the needle, what doesn't. And obviously, I'm not stupid. I don't want to be spending money on tactics that don't move the needle. But that's where there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of garbage coming out of people's mouths, and people slating other people's methods and all that stuff. You just got to try and be positive about it and try different things out. And once you get it working, stick to it.
Yeah, I think there's also a fine line between sort of sticking with tried and tested and jumping to all different types of tactics, because there seems to be a new tactic coming out almost on a weekly basis. And I think you can go down many rabbit holes, and some of them will be right, and some of them will be, complete dead ends. How do you kind of audition, the next big thing?
I don't normally typically dive in right at the start, because you can have that shiny object syndrome where you need the latest tool or the latest technique. And you can waste a whole lot of time, obsessing over this stuff and trying it out and find out that it doesn't move the needle. So I tend to sit back and watch other people do it. And then if people keep talking about it, then I'll dive in. I'm not going to jump in 250. Don't get me wrong. Like, someone brings out a new CTR tool or something, I'm probably the first one to buy it, because I'm a kind of gadgety guy and all that stuff. So, but I think in this industry, less is more now, and people are trying to optimize the crap out of every single last little thing. That doesn't have to be the case. So I tend to take a step back, let other people do the testing phase of it, talk to them. If I keep hearing the same thing being said time and time again, then I will start to take it seriously and I'll start to try and implement it. But sadly, 7 or 8 out of 10 times when you hear this next big thing, it isn't actually that big, and it doesn't actually work that well. So that's where I think experience, you could sometimes just get a feeling for something. You're like, right, that doesn't make sense, so I'm not. But sometimes when someone's doing something or saying something, you're like, geez, that makes a lot of sense, thinking about it logically. So you've got to use your gut instinct at times as well. But what you cannot do is be that guy that tests everyone's strategies time and time again, because you need a settled base to make money. And as I say, have testing websites, try and test things out, network with people. There are testing communities out there and all that stuff. So you want to try and stay on top of the game. And for me, networking, surrounding myself with good, positive people who are good at very specific things like CTR. You know, I know what's going on in the CTR world. Now, I've tested a lot of CTR myself, but I don't just take my data. I speak to a Holly Starks or a Chris Palmer, and I actually just spoke to a guy before I jumped on the call with you about CTR methods. So I'm talking to people that we share data with and share bounce ideas around, and people that I trust. So again, it's not always about do you do the actual testing, Craig. I'm not running about with 200 phones like Holly Starks. Why the hell would I do that? You know, it's not feasible for me to do that.
It takes a special kind of person to run around with 200 phones.
But so I think surrounding yourself with the right people and surrounding yourself with good people can help take your SEO knowledge to another level and just take part. You know, I can give what I give away to the community in terms of exposure and help and trying testing things and all that stuff. You know, I bring something to the community, and likewise, there's other guys that sit in the background that are not necessarily well known, but they do all the kind of geeky things and test all this stuff out. And between us all, we can make sure that everyone makes money. You know, that's how it works. So you don't have to be the all singing, all dancing superstar tester that also go on YouTube and social media and all that stuff. So get involved with the right people.
Yeah, I think that's true. And also, you know, you're drinking your own Kool-Aid at the end of the day, aren't you? Because you've got your own skin in the game with your own projects and things like that. So you're actually, you know, trying these things and experimenting and making sure that these things work. And then you're going out to the public and putting them into ways that people can understand and relate to and hopefully implement. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You know, I first and foremost want to make sure I'm making money and try these methods. Then I'll go to the public and say, right, you know, I've done this, or I'm playing around with that, or I've had massive success with this. And you know, you do that, and 90% of people don't even listen, and you know, the 10% who do listen, 90% of them just don't take action. You know, it's one of those things. Take action, you know, and when I see people who do take action, you know, I've got a lot more respect for people who do that. But you've got to just take action and throw some shit against the wall and see what sticks.
So if you could go back and talk to Craig of 5 or 10 years ago, what would you be telling yourself? What would you be telling yourself about SEO?
What would I be telling myself about SEO? I would have probably get out the agency a lot quicker. You know, I was always scared that I was always wanting that client money. And, you know, always had a fear of not being able to be successful in any other way. But again, I took the plunge eventually. I was kind of pushed towards it, you know, just with stress and stuff. So I wish I'd probably done things a bit sooner. Listen, with age, with anything in this industry, you just learn, and you know, you look back, and we all make mistakes, even now. You know, who trust in our people. You know, I think now, you know, being at the age I'm at, I can look back and say, do you know what, or I can look at the SEO industry now and just say, do you know what, 90% of people are just absolute full of shit. And you know, try and take a lot of things with a pinch of salt. And you know, before I used to hang on everyone's every word. Now listen, there's some great people in the industry who talk a lot of sense. I'm not being dismissive of the whole SEO community, but there's a lot of people in it for a number of other reasons, other than the right reasons. You know,
helping the community, for example.
And you know, I sadly fell for a lot of that stuff back then, and I just wish that I didn't waste so much time on hanging on every word of these guys, you know, buying up their courses and all of that stuff. But again, I've still had massive success in learning from other people as well. And, you know, I've seen so many people, so many different speakers over the years. And this is something that I actually was quite arrogant towards. So I used to think there's no chance I'm going to SEO conferences. I used to always have this. So I used to have this job before I get into SEO. And there was this thing called BNI Group.
I know that. Yeah.
And my boss went to that, and it was always just wasters that were at that networking thing. So he always used to come back complaining, I was up at 6 a.m. or whatever it is. This was garbage. Networking's garbage, blah, 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 blah. Now, when I started off in business, you kept hearing this term networking. Now, I've never been to a BNI meeting in my life, and I never will because of that boss. Now, I'm sure there are good people at BNI, but it kind of put me off going to conferences and that word networking. Now, I was always put off by that BNI story, and I didn't start going to SEO conferences until I started speaking at them.
Right.
And I wish I could have went a lot sooner to a lot of these conferences, because some of the people I've met, some of the conversations I've had, some of the laughs I've had, and just some of the tricks I've learned have been at bars at SEO conferences. So, again, you're running an agency, you just don't have time for it. You're like, oh, I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. But, I wish I had just opened up, because you're also arrogant enough to believe if I go to this conference, someone might steal my ideas if I start talking to them at the bar or whatever. No one really gives a shit about your little ideas. People have got their own things going on in their life. They're there for the same thing as you. So, I before, when I had an agency, I was not friends with any other SEO person. Didn't talk to anyone at all. And now that doing what I do, I speak to every SEO all over the world, sharing tips, sharing knowledge, sharing advice, bouncing ideas around and all that. So I think you probably, as a young person, have this arrogance where you're just like, I ain't sharing shit with no one. And I wish I had opened up sooner, because, as I say, over the years, I have met so many people from all over the world who have helped me massively. Even with a little golden nugget here or a golden nugget there. I've probably taken a lot from people, and the people probably don't even know how much value they've given me. But over the years, and people probably don't even know they gave me any value. Just conversations at a bar, or just watching them speak a little bit, or Big Gareth Hoyle's another guy, based down in Manchester. He doesn't know it, but I've picked up a fair few tips from that guy as well. Just the way he conducts himself. It's weird, but you just like, I quite like the way he does that, or I quite like the way he does this. And as I say, there's too many to mention, but guys like Peter van de Graaf, I've spoken at events with him, become a went over to Amsterdam to chill with him, and again, there's so many little things that I've taken from him that I've implemented into my way of working in my life that's helped me massively. So that's the one thing I would say is try and engage with other people, and do not think that you're better than this guy or that guy, because listen, money can't buy experience, and some of these guys are monsters at what they do and have a real weird way of thinking about things as well. So I've learned a lot from a lot of different people.
What would you say is if you could find a ocean going fur-line howler that you've done that you can share, what would that be? What would be your biggest absolute bollock drop? What would it be?
Man, there's so many. Fucking many.
Well, at least you're honest.
It's bollock drop. I've told that story several times. Now, out with the usual, I've been before back in the day. Listen, I'm not a good developer. I'm not that techie when it comes to websites. But I've also dabbled in websites, and I've literally blown people's websites up and then just fucked them off as customers, like just never spoke to them again. I'm talking about back in the day. We're just like,
good afternoon, Glasgow. Ex-customers of Craig's, turn your ears off now.
Websites have just disappeared and shit. So I've done stuff like that. But also, I remember a good few years ago, we dived into the e-cigarette niche. So e-cigs were coming out and all that stuff.
Yep.
And naively, I'm a gung-ho type of guy, done the keyword research. I was literally jumping up and down inside going, yes, this is the one. I'm going to become a millionaire. Done all the keyword research, basically paid someone to do a website, SEO'd the crap out of it, and then decided there was so much red tape that we had to throw it in the bin.
Oh.
So the red tape involved you can only take payments through PayPal. You cannot do Facebook ads or Google ads. Now, we basically spent 6 months or 9 months ranking this thing. We threw so much money at content. We're like just super excited. We're like, whoa, this is the next big thing.
This is it.
And, flung a lot of money at it.
Yeah.
And we decided that, even the drop shipper that we were using for the actual product, now bear in mind, we also tried to make this shit in our own warehouse as well. We bought like this homemade e-cig thing. That was a mess, it was all over the floor and it was just a dirty mess. So we got a drop shipper who couldn't supply things properly. But that is probably the biggest boob. Investing in something like that, which never got off the ground. But I've made boobs, such as, investing money, time, and effort into getting into joint ventures with multiple different people, and it never ended well. So it's money just down the toilet pan because people were leeching on the SEO skills. And it's like you're young, naive, and you think, the way it's been pitched to you, it sounds all good, but when reality, someone's just looking for a free ride. So listen, I've been in so many different positions in this industry. I've had my pants pulled down more than most throughout the years, but that's just a couple of howlers I've made. But honestly, howlers all over the place.
But I guess also that's probably the mark of the fact that that you genuinely want to try and help people and try and move people on and have a conviction for what it is that you do, and also a confidence for what it is that you do as well, which is absolutely amazing, and obviously your results speak for themselves. But with regard to SEO, there's a lot of myths about, isn't there? What would you say is the biggest sort of SEO black hat myth that you'd want to debunk, that you'd want to say, look, that's just fake news, that's just it's just nonsense?
Again, there's so many of these, but
what's the one that's on your mind at the moment?
The ones that really get to me are link building doesn't work. Link building's not a thing. Don't build links. Don't buy links. Don't do this. Don't do that. Google are not. Listen, guys, and it really annoys me. It just frustrates me because the people that believe in it, you've got to ask what's going on in their head. Like, Google are not going to turn around and go, "Hey guys, link building now works really well. Come and build some." That's not how this game works.
Never gonna say it.
And you do link building. People are like, oh, but isn't that against the terms of service and all that stuff? And you're just like, dude, come on. What person have you been watching? Like, everyone's building, like, go and check it. Even guys that say they don't build links are building links. Like, listen, links are always going to be, always have been. Being a big needle mover, I'm not saying that the be all and end all of SEO. Of course, technical speed, all of that stuff came into play, and of course, on page and all of that kind of stuff are massively important, and they've all got to go together.
Yeah. But it's right up there, though, isn't it? It is right up there.
But I just hate people saying, but this guy said. Listen, people can dress these things up in whatever name, whatever fancy dress they want to put on this. It's still link building, and that is all there is to it. And that is what really annoys me. When you see people saying, "Oh, I don't build links," but they're quite happy to buy citations, do guest posts, do PR, and all that. Yeah. Like, what part of that's not link building? Like, what are you doing? So that, and then because there's so much debate around it, I've met so many people who are just scared of link building now. So a lot of the consultancy and the training I do, people are like, man, I'm scared to build links. I've done training with an SEO agency lately, and they were just scared to build links for their clients because they're just like, man, we don't know what to do because this guy said this guy says that. We're stuck, so we're just doing on page. So as a result, their clients are paying them a fortune for on page, and it's only going to take them so far.
So they were only doing on page.
Yeah. So it's, again, I'm not going to name and shame people, but they had someone like me, an SEO trainer in, and that person said to them, don't touch links and don't do this. And you're just like, fuck, please, please, please stop advising people of things like that, because in a competitive market, you are likely to need an element of links to rank well, unless you've somehow got yourself an H domain or whatever. Then you can have a content strategy for the foreseeable and take advantage of that backlink profile. But for the vast majority of us, we've got to be doing that, and that is a myth that really, I mean, does it frustrate me really? But it's just annoying to read it all the time and have that put to you all the time. And it's a question, even in my live Q&As and stuff, link building questions, even the basics are still being asked every day because people just do not have a clue.
Mm-hmm. It is interesting that you would think that link building is probably should be either 50% or at least probably 30% of anyone's strategy if they're looking to get their website up there, and to completely disregard it because someone's told you not to do it. It just sounds like a big flaw in the plan. And as we all know, on page will only get you so far, speed will only get you so far, and at the moment those things are less relevant. Okay, they could change, but link building, to my mind, is right up there with making sure that you've actually got content on your website page. So what are the hot subjects that you think need sort of tackling at the moment? What are the hot subjects that you're hearing people talking about, in a sort of black hat SEO kind of frame that you think need to be talked about more or need to be looked at more?
I mean, the hot topics that people are doing, they don't want to talk about them more. That's the other side of this coin, is there's only so much you can give away without shooting yourself in the foot, whether that being YouTube or whatever. And, obviously, if you're being recorded live in camera, there's only so many tricks you can give away, or you give vague descriptions of that trick. So, Google can watch these and tweak things and do things to their algorithm based on what people say.
Yeah.
We've seen the likes of Holly Starks, spoke in Chiang Mai a few years ago. She took off that night, and before she landed in America 24 hours later, her whole YouTube network was ripped down. She lost hundreds of thousands of websites. So, that is why a lot of people are scared to talk publicly about things that work. But hot topics that things should be doing, I mean, the crux of SEO doesn't change, right? So we've got content, we've got links, we've got tech and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Now, it's the other things like how you build these links, how you think outside of the box, what type of things are you doing to build those links, or steal that content, or do this or do that. So it's the different strategies that people use. So building a link to building a link really doesn't matter what way you do it, as long as you get that link. Now, of course, you shouldn't be hacking people's websites and blah, 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 blah. But a lot of the black hat tricks are like just preying on the vulnerable, pulling the wool over someone's eyes, or making them think one thing when they should be thinking another and stuff like that. So it's not so much there's hundreds of new topics that are out there. It's just different ways to do the same thing. Yeah. And doing it and making it easier, if you like, and I think that's what people in the black hat world do. They're not doing anything outrageously different. They're just going tackle it in a different way. Do you reach the way you're going to get one response out of 100 emails, or do you do something else or trick someone into doing it, or whatever? Yeah. So I think it's just a different way of thinking. Stealing content from expired domains. There's just basic black hat things that people are still not doing that well, but there's so much more to it. Like some of the guys I've spoken to over the years, just the way they think, the things they do, how they make money, doing all of these things is just insanity, and that's what is termed black hat. I think Peter van de Graaf was asked once to rank a bukkake website, which is Japanese porn. Now, he wasn't ever going to get a link to a Japanese porn website for obvious reasons.
Yes.
He had to come up with the bait and switch method, where he had to come up with a fake John Bukaki guy and all that stuff. And
right.
That's, you might say that's bloody crazy or whatever. Well, you've got people pretending to be lawyers and do copyright notices to people. There's just so many things that are black hat. And that's what I love hearing all these stories or whatever. You've got, again, Holly Starks and all that nicking around with 200 phones doing stuff. Should someone be doing that? No. Is it illegal to do it? No. She's trying to break the system, and that's Holly's thing. She loves blowing things up. I love hearing all of that stuff. Now, you don't have to take all of these things into account, but it just opens your mind up to the what's possible. You give someone an inch, they'll take a mile in anything in life. And, if someone finds a loophole in SEO, they will exploit it for all they can, and they'll fill their boots with it. And that's where, they're not too vocal about it. They're just like, I've done this and it gets you this amount of links, and we've got all these free PR links because of it and everything. And that's what you're looking to do, is try and exploit that and get volume and scale. Yeah, no,
I think that sounds very very sensible set of stuff to be kind of looking at for the hot topics and stuff. And when we talk about the SEO Underground conference, obviously you're going to be one of our key speakers there. Can you give us a hint as to what you might be talking about?
Well, I'm going to be talking all out black hat things, just different stories, different techniques. I'm not entirely sure what I will put there. The last time I done a black hat topic was out in America. That was at Mike and Brad's conference. And this is a true story, by the way. So it was NFG Rockstars, stands for No Fucks Given. Now, they basically asked me to go. I went there. Now, I'm going there thinking, God, I'm in a room full of black hat monsters. You're going to have to come out with some of the good stuff, Craig, like really up your game, make a mark, first time in America and all that. So I went all out, aggressive as hell, in terms of the strategies and the techniques. And half of my talk, which was recorded, had to get edited out. Purely because it was giving away so much of the tricks that people were still currently using, and they didn't want that being shut down or exploited or whatever. So, I was looking over to the likes of Mike and stuff, and they were like, and I'm looking like, what?
Giving away the Frosty secret.
I've been talking for 20 minutes and I've got a 40-minute slot here. Why did they tell me to stop? But yeah, they said to me after, they've never had to do that with someone before. But what I'd done with that was I spoke to a few friends who are in the SEO industry, and I'm like, what do you want to know? What would be good? So I will be closer to the time figuring out what people don't know and coming up with new funny tips and strategies and anything else that's working closer to the time. It's not until October. This is March. Things can change dramatically in 6 months, but I will be doing something similar. Also, Kyle Roof, who's an ex-lawyer, basically said that I had committed 5 felonies in my presentation in America. So that is the type of thing, and you can ask Kyle, that's a true story. That's the type of stuff that I want to try and give away there, just like some proper,
hardcore stuff. And
as I say, not to necessarily do for yourself, but it's good to know what is available to do, how far you can push it and all that stuff, and how you can really be, even if it's just to protect yourself. So I'll be going all out aggressive because, again, I want to come away from there with people going, whoa,
that was serious.
And that's always the aim. I try not deliver the same garbage over and over again. So hopefully I can do that. And I'll see nearer the time, but it'll be something along those lines.
Yeah, and of course that's one of the key things is actually being at the conference. You're going to see unedited, unadulterated, sheer black hat stuff that obviously isn't going to necessarily make it to the open world, and it's going to be for those people who are at the conference. So it is well worth coming along and finding out what Craig has to say. And we're going to be interviewing all of our speakers over the coming weeks to speak about what they're doing, how they got into the game, and what they're going to be offering. Who are you listening to at the moment? Is there anybody in particular that's got your attention and that you're absorbing their stuff sort of around the SEO sort of area?
I mean, I listen to different guys all the time. So schema's a big thing for me. So I'm watching a lot of Clint Butler stuff. But over the years, you know, if I'm weak in an area, like schema is a bit of a weakness for me, then I watch the best person, in my opinion, who is doing that. So, again, you know, I've watched Chris Palmer stuff, I've watched Holly Stark stuff, I've watched Mike and Brad, I've watched Matthew Woodward, I've watched Diggity, I've watched Charles Float, I've watched, you know, Peter Van de Graaf, so many different people all over the years. I'm not years, but I consume a hell of a lot of SEO content, you know, videos and stuff like that. And yeah, we've always got weaknesses. So if there's a guy that's, you know, if my site's going really slow, I'm going to find the guy who's the best guy to talk about speed and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, what else I can learn to upskill in that area. And that's just constantly evolving. So again, there's just so many names, but it's not that hard to find these people on webinars and stuff like that. You know, personally, I much prefer YouTube and consuming content that way rather than reading blog posts. So people that are putting themselves out on YouTube is where I go and watch those videos. And there's a ton of them all over the world, you know, better content strategies and stuff. But I also cleverly got a bit of a confession to make, but obviously with my podcast and stuff, I get clever people on and grill the shit out of them. While there's underlying strategies at the same time. So I use that as a learning exercise as well. So I'm like, what are you doing here? What are you doing there? So again, not just watching, but getting involved in the conversation. Because obviously you watch content, you're like, man, why did that guy not ask this or that? So I'm taking that to another level where I can be that guy who says, oh, no, come on, tell me what this means, or I'll tell me what that means. Because like anything in the world, we don't know everything, and it's good to just get someone on and give them the questions that you personally want to ask. And that's what I enjoy doing. So yeah, I consume a lot though.
Brilliant. Excellent stuff. And so if people want to know more about you before we actually get to SEO Underground in 6 months' time in October, where should they be going? How should they be consuming your content, Craig?
So they can go to craigcampbellseo.com, which will give you access to all my social media channels and stuff like that. Or just find me on YouTube. If you just put in Craig Campbell SEO, you'll see I've got a lot of content on YouTube, videos, Q&A sessions, tutorials, funny stuff. Yeah, there's all sorts on there. So
and you've got some free courses as well, haven't you? You've got some stuff for people who want to learn this stuff as well. So so it's well worth checking out Craig's website and his YouTube channel. There is a whole host of stuff that you will come out all the richer for understanding SEO if you're just starting out, and even some, you know, more advanced topics as well that I know that you cover. So, well, Craig, I want to thank you very much for taking the time. It's been absolutely fantastic. I really, really enjoyed it, and you've certainly given me some insights into your background and what you're looking at and what you're doing. And hopefully, we'll catch up with you again a little bit nearer the time. Until then, check us out on seounderground.co.uk if you want to book tickets or find